Hello again, good evening to you and welcome to Business Now. The Chamber of Commerce and Industries is warning of imminent job losses if government does not provide incentives for the private sector to offset the spillovers from the banking sector crisis. Over 2,000 jobs have been lost following the collapse of the 7 banks recently. President of the Chamber, Nana Appiagyei Dankwa-Woso I, says government's intervention will place the private sector in a better position to deal with the employment situation.
The 42nd AGM also served as a platform for the Chamber to express concern over outstanding challenges facing the private sector. These include the effects the banking crisis has had on jobs. President of the Chamber, Nana Appiagyei Dankwa-Woso I, argued that even though the move by the regulator to ensure sanity is justified, the problem of job losses must equally be addressed.
The Chamber calls on the government to create incentives for other sectors of the economy to expand in order to curtail the unemployment spillovers that will emanate from the job losses. Furthermore, the action taken by the government to provide financial support to ensure the viability of the new reconstituted consolidated bank and their indigenous banks is also commendable. The Chamber recommends that the Bank of Ghana should ensure speedy, efficient, and effective regulatory measures to prevent such occurrences in the near future. It is imperative that all stakeholders will learn from the situation and work collectively to guard against the reoccurrence of these infractions and ensure that the financial sector develops in a sustainable manner with relevance for economic growth and development. Also, I would like to make a passionate appeal to the government to speed up the industrialization policy agenda and the commitment of building industrial parks to expand the industrial activities of the economy. This project, when all implemented, will inure to the benefits of Ghanaians and cause a reduction in the unemployment rate through the creation of job opportunities for the people of Ghana.
Deputy Trade Minister Robert Ahom-Kalensi outlined various plans government is employing to ease the cost of doing business in the country. He reassured captains of industry of government's quest to ensure an improved business atmosphere.
For us to be more creative in how we look at solutions to the challenges we face. I recall very clearly, 25 years ago, we talked about asset finance, leasing. We talked about other forms of structured finance, and yet every day what I hear is vanilla lending, going for a bank for simple loan. We know that we have to be more expansive in our thought process, and to that extent, that is something we're doing as a government. Nana President, you mentioned something about incentives and others. Our Minister of Finance, in his last address to Parliament, made a statement, and without giving away the cake, so to say, he made clear that this government will introduce, subject to Parliament's approval, some more incentives to help industry.
So as the tenure of the new executives of the Chamber begins today, key issues that will be on the table, the CD, the performance of businesses in Ghana, and as well the cost of doing business in the country. I'm Charles Ayeta reporting for Joy Business.
Meanwhile, the 2019 budget must factor in more incentives and less taxes for private sector. This is coming from the President of the Chamber, Nana Appiagyei Dankwa-Woso, who tells Joy Business a private sector-led budget will guide investors on the best avenues to invest their capital. He spoke to Joy Business at the sidelines of the 42nd AGM of the Chamber.
It's been on taxes, incentives, and then also how do we look at collateralization, because a lot of the private sector do not have the requisite collaterals, and then also looking at the Bank of Ghana and its new policies that they are coming up with. You know, the other side is we want less taxes. We want more incentives to cushion more people. So then if a lot of people are coming into that side. What do you do to attract them? You know, one is market, and we are also trying our best or doing our best to make sure that the markets out there are also get the markets for those products that they are dealing in. You know, right now we need to work on the economy. A lot of people don't have work to do. Prices of goods and services have not been stable for some time, and so that is what we need to engage government on and make sure that you know, interest rates. The Bank of Ghana has done its best to bring the bank rate down, but then if you go to the markets, it is quite still on the higher side. We need to sit down with the governor once again and engage with the Bankers Association, and so that they will look at that. The other thing is about collateralization. Most of the members or the private sector don't have the collateral.
Now, the depreciating currency has taken a swipe at profits of the Ghana Airports Company Limited. The company's profit after tax stood at 87 million Ghana cedis as of 2017, compared with 153 million in 2016. The financial report presented at the company's annual general meeting indicated a 43% drop in the company's overall profits. Managing Director John Atifa noted the currency depreciation played a key role in the current figures.
Highlights of the Ghana Airports Company report presented at the annual general meeting show that overall air traffic movement for the year 2017 was 36,217, indicating a 7.9% increment from 2016. This, according to the Airports Company, was as a result of an increase in international and domestic flights in 2017. It also follows the entrance of Air France and Mid-Africa, as well as the extension of routes by domestic carrier Africa World Airlines and increased frequencies by some international airlines. Similarly, tonnage of goods transported through the Kotoka International Airport in 2017 was 50,360, indicating a 5.6% increment from 2016. Despite the strong performance, profits after tax posted by the Ghana Airports Company Limited dipped. This, the managing director attributed to the depreciating value of the cedi.
The company continues to operate profitably with a performance of 387 million cedi profit before tax, which was lower by 43% compared to the previous year. Essentially, operational costs and currency exchange losses contributed to the lower profits.
Moving forward, John Atifa said the Ghana Airports Company Limited has decided to file its financials in dollars to help deal with the effects of the cedi depreciation.
If you prepare accounts in dollars, then the cedi fluctuations and depreciation would not impact. Then we see a real value. Because when you take loans in dollars, you use them to acquire assets. Then as the cedi goes down, if you know, let's say you acquire the assets $100, you bring it in, it's 500 cedis. When the cedi goes down and you review it, instead of 500, it now becomes 600. So even though you haven't spent the money, it will reflect as cost, an increase of 100 cedis, which will then make you, which will add to your cost and make you less profitable. So, but if you stayed in dollars, which of course the laws allow, we could then report realistically on our operations.
Chairperson of the Ghana Airports Company Limited, Oboshisai Kofi, said they were committed to making positive strides to the aviation industry and to the development of the economy. Sheila Tamaklo for Joy Business.
Now, the IMF says it sees the latest World Economic Outlook report on global growth reaching a plateau level. According to the IMF's Research Department Director, Maury Obstfeld, this is because of growing risks of recession on the horizon. He was speaking at the IMF's annual meeting ongoing in Bali, Indonesia.
World Economic Outlook report projects that global growth will remain steady over this year and next at last year's rate of 3.7%. This growth exceeds that achieved in any of the years between 2012 and 2016, and it occurs as many economies have reached or are nearing full employment and as earlier deflationary fears have dissipated. Thus, policymakers still have an excellent opportunity to build resilience and implement growth-enhancing reforms. Economies are diverse and face an array of... The impacts of trade policy and uncertainty are becoming evident at the macroeconomic level, while anecdotal evidence accumulates on the resulting harm to companies. Trade policy reflects politics, and politics remain unsettled in several countries, posing further risks. You have the world's two largest economies at odds. That's a situation in which everyone is going to suffer. One of the lessons of the last crisis was that fiscal policy can be very powerful in combating recession. And so if you're in a situation where public debts are already too high, where markets might react adversely to a further increase in public debt, that could limit the positive effects of your fiscal actions. So, to summarize, countries have learned a lot, but there's certainly more work to be done to prepare for the next recession.
And that's all in Joy Business. Of course, that's all in business on Joy News Prime. Many thanks for watching. Enjoy the news.